All right, so today we're going to talk about ecosystems and the biotic and abiotic things that influence it. So we'll start up here at the top left. We're kind of going to talk about the levels of organization in ecology. So the ecological levels of organization, we start with organism, and as we get all the organisms of one species together, then that is the population of that area. So population is all the species at one time in an area. So that doesn't include other species, that doesn't include other areas, and it doesn't include other times. It's all the species in one area at one time. And if you go even further out, you get into a community. A community is all the living things in the area. So it's the population of humans, of bacteria, of lizards, of fish, of snakes. All the populations in that area at that time is a community. So all the different populations together make up the community. That's all living things. And if you'll notice, I did this in green. All of these things are biotic. There's no abiotic factors here. And as a review, biotic is living things and abiotic is non-living things. Okay, so if we zoom out even further and we start including more things, then we start including the non-living things. So if we take the community, which is all the living things in an area, and then we add the non-living things in that area, think water, sunlight, soil, or like dirt, air, the temperature, all those things are the abiotic factors. And so all the abiotic factors in one area, a specific area, and the non-living things. So the living and non-living things in the area, that's the ecosystem. And then if you get all kind of similar ecosystems together, so think of maybe a pond would be a particular ecosystem in the pond, and then the woods around the pond would be included with the pond, and then the field that's next to it, you've got all these different ecosystems from a field, like a grassland ecosystem, maybe some trees nearby. You've got all those different ecosystems all together are going to be a biome. So a large field, a large piece of woods, which with a pond somewhere in there, that would all be a biome. It's the living things, the non-living things, in multiple ecosystems that are similar. That's a biome. And that's what we're going to talk about over here, are different biomes. And the biosphere is where everything alive exists on Earth. So as high as the highest birds and bacteria float, and as low as the fish and subterranean creatures, like the things that dig under the ground, as far down as those go, and as high up as the others go. That is the biosphere. It's the circle around Earth, the sphere around Earth, where all living things are. So think of like magma deep under the Earth. That's not the biosphere. Think about outer space near the moon. That's not the biosphere. The biosphere is where all the living things naturally habitat, their natural living space. Anywhere there's living stuff in their natural habitat, that's the biosphere. And this is shaded in brown. It is living and non-living, or you could say biotic and abiotic. Get used to those terms, that living and biotic are the same, and non-living and abiotic. Bio, the prefix to bio, meaning life. Those are the same. All right, so this is this egg-looking thing, supposed to be an Earth, supposed to be the Earth. And you've got blue lines up top and blue lines on the bottom. Those are the polar areas. And those polar areas are known for being very cold and have very little precipitation. They have very little rain or snow or hail. They have very little water that falls from the sky. And those are polar. And we call that area the tundra. It's very, very cold. It can't produce, there's no trees that can live in that area. It's very cold, very little precipitation. That's the tundra. Then if we go closer towards the middle of the Earth, we get to the temperate area. There's a strip here, and then on the other side of the equator, there's a strip down here. That is the temperate area. And temperate, when you think temperate, think that the temperature changes throughout the season. So you've got winter and summer. You've got spring and fall. That is temperate. You've got seasonal changes, typically 4 seasons. And you could say that we have that here. Now, we joke in South Georgia, we joke about not having 4 real seasons. We've got like a pre-summer, summer, post-summer, and then some kind of short week or so with cold air. We joke about that, but we have 4 seasons. And that temperate You'll also see this word in one of the major biomes in the temperate area is the temperate deciduous forest. So the temperate deciduous forest tells you three things. Those three words mean something. The main plants there are trees. These trees, deciduous means that the leaves fall off. Deciduous means to fall off, and it means that these leaves fall off. So think of, having to rake your yard in the fall or in the winter when the oak leaves or whatever trees, hickory trees or Bradford pear, whatever it is that fall, those leaves, they fall, they're deciduous trees. They lose all of their leaves in the wintertime to deal with a cold. That's deciduous. And temperate, again, just means that there's 4 seasons. So this place has trees whose leaves fall off, and it has 4 somewhat distinct seasons. That's the temperate deciduous forest. Up here as well, it's actually closer to the tundra. We have the taiga. And so we have the tundra, and then the taiga, and then the temperate deciduous forest. In between the temperate deciduous forest and the tundra, we have the taiga, and that's going to be cone-bearing plants like pine trees or fir, like Douglas fir, or like Christmas tree type trees. Those are going to be, they're called conifers because they have cones. They live up far north, and their leaves do not fall off. And we have some of those trees here, like pine trees, but up far north, think north like Alaska or Russia, a lot of that area is taiga. It's just pine trees. These other deciduous trees, they can't live there. It's too cold. Then continue moving, and we have that same temperate area right here with some similar biomes. And then we've got this, in the equator, we've got the tropical area. The tropical area is lots of sunlight, very few temperature changes. So from month to month to month, there's not going to be drastic temperature changes like there are, say, in here from June to December. Those 2 months are pretty different as far as temperature is concerned. In the tropics, which is close to the equator, they're not going to have those extreme temperature changes. And so we see the tropical rainforest is here. Again, main vegetation is trees, forest, it's trees. It rains a lot, and it's found in the tropics. And the tropics is the area that's on either side of the equator. There's the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. You don't have to know that, but it's the area around the equator. And if the area does not have very much rain, if it can't produce or can't support a lot of trees, then that area will be a tropical grassland. We call that a savanna. It's a tropical grassland. So think Lion King, where there are trees, but it's not a forest by any means. It's a kind of grouped together trees because that's where maybe a low spot where there's enough water, or they help each other out by shading each other out, or they're really good at storing water. But in the grassland, there are trees, but it's mostly grass. So grassland is mostly grass, and it's found in the tropics. It's a tropical grassland, or we call it a savanna. So we have these bookends, the ends of the cover of the book. The middle of the book is the tropics, and then the rest of in between those two is the temperate areas. I'll also jump over here to symbiosis. So we've got symbiosis, predation, and competition. These are all 3 biotic relationships. So relationships between living organisms. Symbiosis, predation, or predator-prey, and competition. So symbiosis is going to be, if you were to write a definition of symbiosis, it's going to be a close relationship or a long-term relationship where at least one organism benefits. So a zebra being eaten by a lion is not a long-term relationship. That is more predation. That's going to be predator-prey. Symbiosis is going to be a long-term relationship where one of them benefits. So I went ahead and put mutualism, commensalism, parasitism. Those are the 3 examples, and I put a plus sign for each one because each one of them has one individual that is benefiting. The difference between these 3 are that in mutualism, both of them are benefiting. In parasitism, think parasite, one is benefiting, but the other one is actually being hurt. And commensalism is in between. One is benefiting, and the other one just does not care. So this may offend some people, but when I think of mutualism, you can think of the bacteria in your stomach or maybe dogs. So bacteria in your stomach, they help you, and you feed them. They help you break down food, and so you can absorb them into nutrients. And you help them by giving them food to break down. So they live and you live. That's mutualism. You both helped. A dog would be like you help the dog and the dog protects you. Like you feed the dog and pet the dog, and if somebody tries to, mailman comes up and the dog thinks they're trying to hurt you, your dog will bark to let you know. You help each other. Parasitism, this is where it may be offensive. Parasitism I would equate to maybe a cat. So you love the cat, you pet the cat, you take care of the cat, you feed the cat, and the cat, that would be commensalism, where the cat does not really care. The cat doesn't really care if you're there. As long as it's got food, it's fine. It doesn't really care much about you. And I know that's not true of all cats. That's just been my experience with cats in general. They love to be fed and maybe pet occasionally, but they don't really want to hang around a lot. So that's commensalism. Parasitism, root word there is parasite. Think about a tick or a leech or a tapeworm. All those organisms you can look up, but they are helped, and the organism that they're with, called the host, is harmed. So this is the parasite. The parasite is being benefited, and the host, the thing that they're hurting, is negatively affected. So those are all examples of symbiosis: mutualism, commensalism, parasitism. Another one that I mentioned, biotic relationships, predator-prey. It's called predation. So you've got the predator and the prey. These populations are closely tied together, meaning that if the prey population starts to increase in population, gets more and more and more and more and more, then a little bit later, it may be months or a year or two later, the population of predators, they increase. And then if the prey population starts to drop, then soon after that, the predator population will drop. And then what happens if the predator population drops? And now the prey population can go back up. So you see this wave. The predator population, the curve, tends to follow the prey. It doesn't go at the same time. It goes slightly after it. And then the last one is competition. So competition, think about two things fighting over some kind of resource. It could be a resource of water. It could be a resource for food. It could be a resource for mating. But competition, no two species can occupy the same niche at the same time. So something I go to is I'm thinking about a hawk and an owl. A hawk and an owl eat very similar foods. They live in very similar areas. You may have a hawk and an owl that live near your house, but they do not compete. They're not in competition necessarily because they're not hunting at the same time. So competition, the idea here is no two species can occupy the same niche, the way they fit into the environment, at the same time. So owls and hawks don't fit the same niche because one is nocturnal, sleeps at night, it's active at night like the owl, and one of them is diurnal, which means it's active during the day. So they don't have the same niche. If they are in the same niche, it's called competitive exclusion. There will be one winner and there will be one loser. Unless one of them has an adaptation that can change and they find a way to fit a different niche, one of them will win and one of them will lose. One of them will outcompete the other.